This week, by popular demand, I'm going to talk a little bit about my height adjustable desk. What the hell is it? How did I set it up? Is it something that you should maybe consider? Plus, I'm going to take a community question about the Nikon Z6, Z7 mirrorless cameras. All right, so I'll just cut straight to the chase. This is a fully Jarvis height adjustable desk. It has this kind of 2-button control where it takes it way down low to the floor if I want, or way up even higher than I'd want to use it standing. So if I'm feeling a little bit tired, I don't want to stand anymore, I can drop that thing down. I grab my Aeron chair, boom, I'm seated and I'm editing. I'm super comfortable. I want to stand up, not be just kind of sitting down, office style. All I have to do, hit this button. It takes it a second, but it comes right up to height adjustable. Now, there's a slightly more expensive option of the control panel of this desk that'll have some user presets, 1, 2, 3, I think. You can just preset a specific height. You hit the button, it just rises to that while you walk off and do something else. And that's a nice feature, but I don't really have a problem holding the button down for a few seconds. So the great thing about this, when I was working as an attorney, I was seated all the time. I was starting to get kind of repetitive stress syndrome, and I just kind of dreamed of being able to actually, stand up and work. Some of the partners in the office, a couple of them had like treadmill desks. There were people sitting on medicine balls, people that are just working at a computer for too many hours a day, wind up getting, office-related sedentary sort of injuries just from being in one position too long. So I love the idea of a desk like this where I can choose whether I'm standing, and just by standing, you're kind of moving about a little bit. I have a nice area rug here that's got some padding underneath it, so I'm comfortable standing, and I really prefer to work like this. Now, accessories that I have for this desk, I have a really cool mount that actually just has kind of straps that my CPU, that my computer hangs from here. And I've got another CPU holder that holds my 2 Drobos on the other side so that there's no computer or big drives on the top of my desk. I wired in a little Amazon USB 3.1 10-port hub with 3 fast charging ports so that I can just plug things in on the top of my desk and that shoots straight down to my computer. I've got a dual monitor stand that came from Fully. Fully's actually a company that has a showroom in Portland. They're basically based in Portland, and they contract with some Chinese companies to build this stuff. They have all kinds of different desktops. They sell their stuff on Amazon. I'll put some Amazon links up there. They also make these computer monitors for 1, 2, 3, 4 monitors. These monitor stands, this is their older version. I think the newer version looks a little bit nicer. This is older enough that monitors have gotten so much lighter. When I put this new Dell monitor in as my second monitor, it's so light I actually had to hang a dumbbell, a 10-pound dumbbell, just to kind of counterbalance the weight so that it just didn't spring to the top at its lightest setting. It's kind of funny. Times have changed, monitors have gotten lighter. So that's the basic thing. I have the 60-inch bamboo top. There are all kinds of different tops that you can choose from. I like the feel of the bamboo. I like the hardwood. It's a 60 by 30 with this kind of scalloped cutout so that you can walk up and it's nice and comfortable to put your arms over. Again, you can height adjust this thing up and down for either your office chair or for standing. I find it to be incredibly comfortable. Now, I have the whole thing set up I drilled a couple of pre-drilled careful holes. I put a marker on the drill bit so I wouldn't go all the way through the top of the desk, and I put some screws in and mounted 2 big surge protectors underneath here. And then I've got all my wires kind of bundled together with either zip ties or Think Tank red whips. These are those kind of open and closable little cord keepers that you can use. I love those things. I give them out to all my workshop students, so all my workshop students know what I'm talking about. But I have all the cords kind of just bundled up under there. I can always change them around, move them, but everything's up and out of the way. And then there are 2 surge protectors under there with lots of ports on them. And basically one of those runs down to an extension cord that I have set up along the leg of the desk. So the only cords coming to this desk are 1 extension cord and my gigabit Ethernet cable that plugs into the back of the CPU. So I can basically, shut this thing down, unplug those two cords, roll this desk wherever I want in the studio, plug those two cords back in, fire it up. And so it's very mobile. And I'll show you a photo from up underneath of how I've connected all the cables and wires. There's a couple of nice pieces on this desk of the structure of it, the metal frame, where you can actually get zip ties around. And so I've put some of the larger adapters, I've just zip tied up under the desk and then used cord keepers on the cords. The whole thing's just neat and easy for me. And I think that the benefit of being able to kind of walk around while you're working, keep your muscles moving, not be sitting in a chair is just huge. I mean, one of the reasons that I kind of justified jumping out of law and doing photography was back in the film days, there was still a lot of editing, not nearly as much as we have now in the digital age. But I just didn't want to sit in a desk in an office, even an office with a beautiful view out over the river in Mount Hood. I just want to be outside more, or I at least want to be moving and not just sitting in an office chair. And so as I found myself doing more and more editing over the years, I had to find a way that at least I'm somewhat active while I'm editing. Now again, if I'm tired, if the kids have me worn down, if I haven't gotten enough sleep, it's as easy as just pulling up this chair and having a seat. It's really a pretty awesome thing to be able to have both in one. And it's not all that expensive. Again, I'll put links to all this stuff up on the site. Now, a question that I had to kind of wrap this whole thing up about the Nikon Z6 and Z7 that was really good from Jason. I got an email which essentially said, I've watched your video on Nikon's mirrorless and its depth of field limitation where you can't zoom into 100% in live view to see the effects of aperture smaller than f5.6. If this doesn't sound familiar to you, I'm going to put a link to the video where I showcase that problem in the video description here, along with the links to all the stuff about my desk. Well, my workaround for that, and the reason that I'm willing to, well, first of all, the question was, why don't you just work with your D850 or your Nikon D500 and not use the mirrorless cameras? Well, for me, I love the way these mirrorless cameras fit in my hand. I love the size and the weight of them, and most of all, I really love the viewfinder in this camera. For the first time, I used to kind of chuckle about mirrorless cameras because I felt like I was looking at a really flat, little, low-resolution miniature television screen that didn't give me the depth that I wanted in an image. Now with these new viewfinders, in the Nikons and the top Sonys, and I haven't looked through them, but I hear that the full-frame Panasonic Lumix cameras are amazing too. It's better than looking through the optical viewfinder, particularly in low light where it amplifies that low light and get a nice, clean, crisp, colorful image. I mean, it's easier, especially with the ability to zoom in to see what you're looking at. Now, granted, we lose that ability that we had in live view on the older DSLRs on this current generation of cameras to preview depth of field at apertures smaller than f5.6 when zoomed in live view. Now I can hit this depth of field preview lever with my finger. I have the function 2 button, I believe it is, programmed that under my middle finger. When I hit that, it stops the aperture down, but I can't zoom in and do that at the same time. So I find myself using this camera a lot more like I did in the days of film or in the days before we had live view with digital cameras. I'll do the depth of field preview looking at the entire image. I'll focus a third of the way in. I'll kind of get a view of the whole scene, and it's a bright view even in dim conditions. I'll use that depth of field preview. I'll get it where I think it's pretty close, and I'll take the shot. And then what I can do is I have this back OK button programmed to zoom into 100%, whether I'm in playback mode or whether I'm using the viewfinder. So all I have to do is hit play, and I can do that without even taking my eye off the viewfinder. I hit play, I hit OK, it zooms to 100%. I scroll around the image looking to see if everything that I need is in focus or not. If it needs to be a little closer to infinity in focus, I'll move my focus a little closer to infinity. I'll check the whole thing and I'll hone in with a few test shots. It's not ideal. I really hope Nikon fixes the problem, but I love this viewfinder and the bright view that it gives me, and the lack of my need to pull out a pair of reading glasses with my close vision kind of deteriorating a little bit these last few years, to have a look at the live view and just how bright and beautiful that view through the viewfinder is. I'd still rather use this camera. I'd still rather carry less weight. I'd rather have that spectacular viewfinder. And I personally love the lightweight f4 optics that have been made for it. So hope that helps with the question, Jason. That's why I'm still using it despite it having that limitation. And that's how I personally get around it. I'm going to be doing a full long-term review of the Z6 and Z7 here really soon. And I'll also do a sort of a secondary settings guide. But that preview button that I talked about in zooming to 100% is in my setting up your Nikon Z6, Z7 video, which I'll link in my original one. I talk about how to do that. So, all right. Hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks so much for being part of this conversation that Approaching the Scene is. You know, feel free. Throw questions down in the YouTube comments section. Send me an email. I'm easy to get a hold of. You know, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you want to hear me talk about. Join the conversation. Remember to click like. Remember to click subscribe. Share with your friends that might be interested. You know, I really, really want to thank everyone for the channel growing the way that it has and for Approaching the Scene being the success that it is. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.